On 2, another triple-digit day in the Treasure Valley. The first look at your weekend forecast. But first,
I'm not going to say that it's the most confusing, but I'm going to tell you this is a very confusing 5 minutes.
A bombshell from the AG's office. No charges for the 2 deputies in the Jack Yantis shooting. A closer look at what prosecutors say happened that night.
This is KBOI 2 News, first at 4.
Our top story tonight, no state or federal charges will be filed against 2 Adams County deputies who shot to death council rancher Jack Yantis last year.
The Idaho AG described the shooting as tragic and unfortunate, but says there's just not enough evidence to prosecute. Well, thanks for joining us on this Friday. I'm Natalie Hurst.
And I'm Brent Hunsaker. This case has been the talk of the state ever since it happened back last November.
We have team coverage this afternoon. Sierra Oshran spoke with the Adams County Sheriff about today's decision.
But first, let's turn it over to Scott Logan, who dug deep into the details of the AG's report.
In a news conference at his State House office today, Attorney General Lawrence Wasden said the chain of events appears to have started when the 2 deputies became concerned for the safety of others due to the direction in which Jack Yantis was pointing his rifle as he prepared to euthanize an injured bull. Idaho Attorney General Lawrence Wasden says it's one of the most confusing 5-minute spans his office has ever tried to unravel. The time between when council rancher Jack Yantis was called to put down his bull, which had been hit by a car, and when he was shot dead during an altercation with 2 Adams County Sheriff's deputies.
I'm not going to say that it's the most confusing, but I'm going to tell you this is a very confusing 5 minutes.
Wasden's office reviewed some 5,300 pages of documents, 590 photographs, and 30 hours of audio and video recordings. The AG says there was conflicting testimony from the 4 primary witnesses, no body cam video, and little physical evidence. In the end, he found no proof beyond a reasonable doubt a crime had been committed.
I have concluded that no criminal charges will be filed against Deputies Brian Wood and Cody Rowland.
A spent shell casing was found in Yantis's rifle, indicating he did fire the weapon, but who fired first or if it was simultaneous, Wasden could not determine. 21 shots were fired, including the one by Yantis, who was hit 12 times, Wasden said. He also said there are conflicting accounts as to whether there was physical contact between Yantis and a deputy before the gunfire. But in the confusion, the Attorney General said one thing about the tragic event is clear.
We, as a state, are the losers here in that a member of our community is dead, and we can't fix that.
Wasden had been acting as a special prosecutor in this case and was only focused in determining whether or not a crime had been committed. He says policy questions of what went wrong and how that could be corrected will be left to other agencies. Live at the State House, Scott Logan, KBOI 2 News.
Now, the U.S. Attorney Wendy Olson has released a statement saying, in part, Mr. Yantis' death is tragic, is a tremendous loss to his family, and has had a substantial effect on the Adams County community. However, the evidence does not meet the substantial evidentiary requirements imposed by the criminal law.
Now, Council is a small mining town, and the shooting has weighed heavily on the community. Sierra Oshran is live in Council this evening to explain how today's decision is affecting people. She continues our live team coverage.
The small town of 800 people has been in the spotlight since November and has been divided ever since. Council, Idaho was a town most had not heard of until the death of rancher Jack Yantis, but since his death, the community has been split in 2. One side supporting the deputies, the other demanding justice for Jack. The decision has been long awaited, and now the sheriff is just hoping the town can begin the process of moving on.
So there's still going to be some question, there's still going to be some doubt, and that's something we're just going to have to live with and something we're going to have to work our way through.
The AG's office notified Sheriff Zolman this morning that they would be making a decision, but wouldn't tell him what it was. He didn't find out until a friend showed him a Facebook post highlighting the decision.
It's the beginning of a healing process. I wouldn't call it a relief. None of us were looking forward to this, but we all knew this is a step we have to take before we can get this behind us and start moving towards, a better tomorrow.
I've knocked on many doors and have gone business to business, asking residents what they think about this decision, and no one would go on camera citing the severity of the decision. But they did tell me off camera that they hope people can take a step back and move forward. Reporting live from Council, Sierra Oshrin, KBOI 2 News.
All this time, the Yantis family has said that Jack was gunned down for no good reason.
The road has been washed twice. It rained for a night and a day, and his blood still remains here on the road. And I believe that this is where his blood is going to stay until he receives justice for this tragic and needless murder.
Back in November, the Yantis family spoke to KBOI 2 News about that night. Now today, we reached out for comment about the decision, but we have yet to hear back.
That same night, Sheriff Zolman held a community meeting that got testy at times, many calling for Zolman to resign and for the deputies to face jail time. Wood and Rowland have been on administrative leave since the shooting.
And the frustration spawned by this Justice for Jack movement as people from all over Idaho showed their support for the Yantis family. Back in March, supporters said the small town would never be the same.
There's going to be a lot of rage from a lot of us if they're not convicted of murder, but we will keep fighting until there's a civil suit and justice is served.
Thousands of people have liked Justice for Jack, that's a page on Facebook, since the shooting.
Speaking of Facebook, it's your turn to talk. The AG's decision is generating a lot of comments online. Craig writes in part, "I respect the law, but this is so wrong." Now, Leslie writes, "If you can do a better job than any of our deputies or even the attorneys, step up to the plate and do it. Otherwise, stand down. We have a system of checks and balances, which happens to be the best in the world." KBOI 2 News wants to hear from you. Join this conversation by heading to our Facebook page and then liking it and then leave a comment.
And we will have continuing coverage of today's decision. Make sure to stick around for the bottom of the hour. Also, we'll have the latest on KBOI 2 News at 5:30, 9, and 10. Online, head to our website, KBOI2.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And finally, if you have a smartphone, make sure to download the KBOI 2 mobile app.